in our first lesson, in the yellow cards, the yellow tabs, we're going to be learning the letter I and the short sound for I, which is I. The book that you do for your language enrichment activity is called Building an Igloo. You'll pull vocabulary cards from your book. Again, it is lightly scripted for you, so it takes a lot of the stress out of the lesson and planning the lesson. And all of these phonological awareness activities, they build on each other. So you're reviewing some activities that you did in the preliminary strip, but you're also going to be building on their phonological awareness foundation so that they are becoming more solid in identifying sounds and words and identifying rhyming. A lot of the first few lessons really build on rhyming and identifying the onset and rhyme. What we're going to do now is I'm actually going to demonstrate how we teach our first lesson and how we teach the letter I. Our letter to sound association procedures, and that is down here on the side-by-side steps, letter to sound number 2. For the first few lessons, you're going to need to pull out your letter to sound association procedure card because there are a lot of steps. And at first, it's a little bit tricky to get all of the steps in a row, but trust me, after 13 times of doing it, you will have it down very quickly. So don't worry if you stumble over the first couple of times. But the steps are very important and they are scientifically researched. So there's a reason why each step is laid out exactly the way it is, because it really makes sure that our students are learning the letters and sounds in a very thoughtful way that will help them as they learn to read, write, and spell. On your lesson 1 card, it tells you everything you need. And what you're going to do first is you're going to have the students take their mirrors and they're going to hold their mirror in front of their mouth. You're going to demonstrate. Hold the mirror in front of your mouth and you're going to say, all right, I'm going to say some words and I want you to repeat the word, look in your mirror at your mouth, and then I'm going to unblend the word in each sound on my board and then I'm going to have you do it. So you say, all right, the first word is in. Say in. In. Look in your mirror and look at your mouth. In. Okay, put your mirror down. Now let's sound out every sound in the word in. Are you ready? This is my initial sound, my medial sound, and my final sound. So this is the very first sound. In. I. You slide your finger all the way down. And then you have them do it. You can sit next to them. Or if you're in a classroom situation, you can sit across from them and say, okay, let's say the word together. In. And you help them the first few times because they may not be able to unblend each sound. So you say, okay, hold the mat with your hand, say in, I, in, and then have them do it. So you model it, you do it together, and then you say, okay, your turn. You do in, I, in. All right, and we're listening for that initial sound, remember? In. Okay, and then you pull them back up, and then you move along and you do all of the words, it, is, inch, exactly the same way. And you can have, if you're just working with one student, you can have them do all of them. If you're working with multiple students, you can take turns. You can even come up with some more words that begin with that short I sound. It has to begin with a short I sound. And once you've done that, say, okay, let's look in the mirror again, and let's say the word in. You say, what sound did you hear at the beginning of all of those words? And you can guide them, look in your mirror and say, I, and you can point to that block again, I. Oh, I hear that sound. And they usually hear the sound too. And they look in your mirror, okay, I'll say the sound and you repeat it, I. Good. Now let's figure out if our mouth is open or if it's blocked. Okay, we'll say, I. And I usually have them hold up a V, see if their mouth is open. I. Is your mouth open? I. Yes, it is. Good job. It's not blocked by our teeth, our tongue, or our lips. Now, move your fingers down here onto your throat. This is where your vocal cords will vibrate. Let's see if your vocal cords move when you say, I. Is it vibrating? I. Yes, it is. Good. Okay, so if they feel it move, then that means it's voiced. And if it's open, I, that means it's a vowel. And vowels are always open and voiced. That's why we hold up the symbol V. And now you're going to write the words on the board. And I'm going to name each letter as I write it, okay? the first word. Do you remember the first word? Sometimes they remember the first word and sometimes they don't. I'm going to write in on the board. In. And what was the second word? The second word was it. I-T. What was the next word? Is. I-S. And then the last word was inch. Ready? Inch. I-N-C-H. Now, normally you would be standing so that they could see all of the words, or you'd put them visibly so they could see all the words. And then you say, okay, what letter? Do you know what letter is at the beginning of each of those words? And they'll give you a guess. Sometimes they won't know the letter, and that's completely fine because you have the letter in your mystery bag. And then you're going to let each student or your student take a turn, and they're going to feel inside the mystery bag. Say, oh my goodness, what does it feel like? Do you know it's one of our blue letters from our alphabet time. So they will typically know what letter it is because you've been doing alphabet time now for 13 lessons. So they'll say, I know what it is, and they'll pull it out and say, it's I. And if they still don't know what it is, that's okay. You hold up your say and read card and you say, okay, let's say the letter together. It's I. This is a capital I. This is a lowercase I. And they'll say, it's I, and they'll get so excited that this is their first letter. Then you say, okay, I have the say and sound card. And this is our sound that helps us remember the name of our letter and the sound that our letter makes. Igloo, I. So this card, you're not going to say the name of the letter. You're going to say the sound. This is always the sound that your letter makes. This is the card that we always say the name of the letter. So we say igloo, I. And then the kids are so excited. You get to add those letters. Now they're officially in your deck of letters that you're going to review every day. You review these letters every day at the beginning of this letter to sound association time. And then you are going to actually write the letter on the board. You are going to use this exact wording to teach them how to write the letter I in cursive. And you say, this is the lowercase letter I. This is the capital letter I. And you do not have to teach the capital letter or the print for time's sake, but it is nice that it's there so that if you need wording, if you would like to teach them, if you need to teach them the capital I, then you can. But we're going to be focusing on this first lesson just on the lowercase I. You're going to turn the card over, you show them, and then, so we'll say it together. We'll say I is swing up, stop, pull straight down, release, and dot. And you have the child trace it. So you show them, then they'll show you 3 times. Then what I do is I move to the board and I say, here's my baseline, just like I have a baseline on my paper right here. Here's my starting point. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to do it really big so that we can skywrite and do it together. Say, this is I. Everybody say I. Say swing up, stop, pull straight down, release, and dot. Once you write the new letter on the board and the kids say it with you, the students say it with you, then you're going to teach them how to skywrite the letter. And you're going to do an example for them first, and then you're going to do it all together. So skywriting is what we call writing the letter in the air. And you want to lay a really good groundwork at the beginning and be very specific on how you want your student to skywrite, so then it'll be easier in the future for future letters. So you say you stick your arm out that you write, use the hand that you would pick up your pencil with, stick your arm out straight like a diving board, strong arm, take your other hand, put it on your shoulder, and that's going to feel the muscle move. And this is all just creating very good foundation for handwriting. So you want to keep their arm in the middle of their body. So they don't want their arm going way up high or way down low. You want to start as your waist is like the baseline. So this baseline right here, that's going to be your waist. And then you're going to only go up about as high as your shoulder. You don't want to go higher than your shoulder. So you teach the kids, and you can even help them get their arms situated. Say strong arms, strong like a diving board, not floppy arms. You say, okay, we're going to skywrite our letter together. So you show them, you say, I'm going to show you first, and we're going to do the letter I. So you say, I, swing up, stop, pull straight down, release, and dot. So you're just staying right here in the middle of your body. And then you go around and you help the student. You're going to say, we're going to do it together. What was the letter we learned? I. Say, okay, I. And you help the kids swing up, stop, pull straight down, release, and dot. And the whole time, I'm not looking at the board at the letter just for this demonstration, but you want the child and the student to be looking at the board at the letter, and you want them to be essentially tracing it in the air, is what skywriting is. So after you've done that 3 times, then you're done skywriting, and then you're going to hold up your cards again to finish the lesson. You're going to say, what letter did we learn today? I, that's right. And what's our keyword and sound? Igloo, I. Then you could even, if you want to take it one step further and say, do you remember what our book was about earlier? Our book was about building an igloo. Igloo, that's our key word. And so the whole week while you're reading Building an Igloo, it's just going to reinforce that keyword and sound. And that will finish your letter to sound procedure card. Now we are in the handwriting practice. After you've done your letter to sound, you move straight into handwriting practice. And you have the handwriting practice procedure card, has a pink tab in your box. You also have the handwriting mat in your box. And what you're going to do is you're going to have a mat for each student. And this handwriting procedure card is very helpful for the first few lessons for you as the teacher or as the parent, just to know why this handwriting mat is the way it is and why it looks the way it looks. We always say that the red line at the top, that's our adult line. The orange line is our teen line, our teenage line. And then the green line is the little kid or child line. And then here at the big bold green line is our baseline. And it is raised, so it's a little bump that really helps reinforce that that is where the child starts their letter and finishes their letter when you're doing handwriting. That's why we have these names up here, so you can tell your child eventually, this is just a child letter, this is just a little kid letter, so it only goes up to the first line, or this is a teen letter, so it goes up to the second line. This is an adult letter, so this goes all the way up to the top. That's why we have those names there. And students really like having those verbal cues so that they know how tall their letter is, where they're going to stop when they swing up stop. You're going to start with your handwriting mat. You're going to place it in front of your student, or you can be sitting next to them. And you're going to take your expo marker, which is in your box as well. You're going to trace, or you're going to write a letter I that they're going to trace. So you say, this is I. You say, swing up stop, pull straight down release, and dot. And then show them, model for them, how to write the cursive letter I on their mat. And then they can use a different colored expo marker to trace over, or the same. Then you can physically help them if they're young, or if they really struggle with handwriting. You can physically help them. Say, okay, I'm going to help you with this first letter. Say I, swing up stop, pull straight down release, and dot, and they'll hold it. And then you're going to do a couple more, and I do a little arrow so that they know where to start. Swing up stop, pull straight down release, and dot. And then they'll trace. And then eventually when they get comfortable after tracing a few, then they can move on down and they can try their own. And you can even do a swing up stop for them, just as a starting point, swing up stop, so they know which direction to swing up stop. And it's amazing how quickly young and old students, all students can pick up cursive handwriting. It may seem intimidating at first, but it really does come pretty naturally for most people, and it really helps with the directionality. All of our cursive letters start on the baseline, and there's only 4 different ways to start a cursive letter in our curriculum. So as opposed to learning print handwriting, and there's over 10 to 20 ways to start a letter on all of these lines, in cursive, the way we teach it in our curriculum is there are only 4 ways. There's swing up stop, there's curve under over stop, there's swing way up loop left, and there's push up and over. There's only 4 different ways to start a cursive letter. It's pretty ingenious, and it works really well for our students. For the review section of our strip, you are just going to take 4 of your vocabulary cards, word cards, from your book that you're doing, which we've been going through the letter I, the lesson I. And you can even review the different aspects of the book. You can say, oh, somebody show me the front cover, somebody show me the back cover. What is this called again? The spine. Then you say, okay, remember our vocabulary words that we learned earlier today? And you just go through them one at a time, give them some examples, use the word or the phrase in a sentence. For example, skinned knee, you can say, oh, I got a skinned knee yesterday at recess. and it really hurt. I had to go to the nurse and I had to get a Band-Aid, to give them some real world examples of your vocabulary words. Then once you're done with that, you're going to review your new card, which is letter card. So you just say the name and everybody says this together. Say, what letter did we learn today? I. Good. What's our keyword and our sound? Let's say it together. Igloo, I. And so you can just review the letter that you did that day, or you can also review if you've done more letters as you're further along into the lessons. You can do a few more letters, but I'm just going to show you really quickly. You learn I first, then you learn T, then you learn P, and then you learn N as you go through the lessons. I'm just going to show you real quickly how you would group all of these together. So when you're at the beginning of your letter to sound association, before you introduce the next letter, you're always going to review the cards for the letters that you've already learned. And this is exactly how you're going to do it. So the letter and the keyword and sound cards, they always stay together. You don't mix them up. So these two cards will always be together in the deck, and the letter card always comes first. I hold it up like this to my students or to my student, and I say, okay, tell me the letter name. They say I, and then they'll usually automatically say igloo, I. Say perfect. Then you can go to your next student or to the same student if you only have one. Say, what's the letter? T. Table. T. Now with T, we're very picky. We don't say t, and we don't say d with D or b with b. You have to cut the sound. I say cut the sound. So table, t, t, you cut the sound. Good. And if they have a hard time remembering that and they say table t, you say, oh good, table t, and you cut the sound. Say P, same thing with P. Say P. Pig. So you don't say pig, huh. You say pig. Say, oh good, cut the sound. And they get the hang of it very quickly. And then N. Nest, N. And so this is our last card. Now I just showed you how to do the decks when you first introduce the letters. But once you've learned a few different letters and sounds, then I'm going to show you how you can shuffle a deck the correct way so that the students don't memorize the order of the letters, because if you always have I and then T and then P and then N, the students will memorize the order of the letters and you won't really be getting a true sense of how they're remembering the keyword and the sound and the name of the letter. So you would hold this up to your student and you say, okay, say the letter name. I. Good. Igloo, I. You lay the igloo, I card directly on top of your I card, because these two always stay together. But then after they do this and you say, okay, what is the letter name? T. You can lay the T down just right underneath that other stack of these cards. Say, okay, say table, t. Good. And then say the letter name, P. And I'm laying this on top of my I, deck, pig, and lay this right next to the P, because P and pig are always going to stay together. Say the letter name, N. So you're going to lay the N card right on top of the T cards. Nest, N. So you lay that right on top of the N, because these two always stay together. So as long as your letter and your keyword and sound cards always stay together with the letter first, then you can shuffle them. And now my I cards, I'm going to put in the back of my deck. So next time, tomorrow, when you review your decks, T is going to be first. I is not going to be first. So it's shuffling the two cards together. So you're just making sure that you never have the same letter and keyword and sound first. So you're always starting with a different letter and a different keyword, just so that the student has a really good concept and understanding of the keyword and sound. And even if they make a mistake as you're going along, don't ever say, oh no, that's wrong. You can say, good try, I'll do it with you. T, table, t. And then they'll say, oh yeah, it's T, table, t. They'll remember right away. But sometimes they just have a hard time immediately coming up with that name and with the keyword and sound.